I was brainwashed, abandoned, neglected, abused. My grandmother's second husband was a multi-generational predator. I'm scarred, but I'm okay. I'm not hurt. I'm not angry. I didn't decide to survive, I just did. And I've learned to come to peace with the things that were done to me in my childhood. So why is this important to you? Because unfortunately, my story's not unique. So I want to be clear about something before I really get started. First, I am not talking about opportunity, I'm not talking about pay, I'm not talking about ceilings. I'm talking about abuse, assault, and harassment. Second, this talk was already filed weeks before the most recent media blitz related to the subject. I determined in the 80s, as a young adult, that I would not be a victim, even in the face of people who felt like they could do what they choose. So after some of my own and girlfriends' experiences with men and guys who thought they had carte blanche, we said, nope, not gonna allow that anymore. Guy walked up to me at a party one night, I was leaving, he walks up and he assaults me, and I laughed at him, and he pulled back angrily and he said, "What's so funny?" And I said, "Do you even know my name?" He'd never talked to me. A few months later, I see him at a Halloween party, and he puts his hands on me. I wasn't nearly as nice as I was the first time. He left me alone after that. Halloween has never been a holiday that I celebrate. At work one time, one of the guys in my office is walking a visitor out, and he's talking about the secretary that this guy has, and the visitor says this crude joke about the secretary. And on the way back through, I said, "Hey, you realize that's harassment, right?" And he said, "She laughs too." Really? She laughs because she's afraid of losing her job. She laughs because she's 18. She laughs because she doesn't know what to do in that situation. I said to him, "Well, you know what? It's harassing me as well because I heard it, and I will take it to the next level if I ever hear it in my workplace again." I've been open, I've been vocal, I've been protective, but even I have failed. I'm complicit in the predatory sexual abuse of another young woman. I should have seen that he was separating them from the herd. I should have seen the distance that he was putting between us. I should have done something to help her. I should have known he was sexually abusing my girlfriend's preteen daughter in their home and done something. I'm not silent anymore. We don't have time to be silent. There's nothing I can do. There's no apology that will pull back or help her to deal with what she's dealing with because we didn't protect her effectively. But I'm vocal now. If I even think there's a potential that something is happening, I speak up. I no longer sit silently by, even in public places. It's scary to get involved, but it's necessary. There was a young detective who was speaking at a business luncheon that I was attending, a women's business luncheon. And in that place, during her talk, she hesitated and she felt safe enough, and she expressed to us, for the first time audibly ever, this young, professional, capable woman stated to us that she had been abused by a predator. Pregnant pause in the room. It had been an active conversation to that point, but almost no one knew what to say. I raised my hand up and I said, "May I share?" And they said yes. And I said, based on my experience, when we share in a supportive environment, we gain our power back. See, a predator steals our power by brainwashing us, by separating us from our support system. I told her, I hope that you find some healing and that you find that your power starts to come back to you. For those of you who are thinking, I just don't know anybody. I don't know anybody that this has happened to. I think this exists in my organization. Let me tell you, it's not a unicorn, it's a rainbow. So, some business stuff. A few years ago, I had a volunteer who worked in my volunteer in my organization, and he would say to people, "Hey, you know what? Don't ever look Diane directly in the eye, because if you do, she can get you to do anything she wants. Anything. Don't look her directly in the eye." Years after, we found out that he had been charged with some type of abuse. I wasn't really surprised. I think it's possible that his flirtatious manner with me was him testing to see whether I was susceptible, whether I was someone who could be victimized. Another time, at a fire chief's office with another colleague having a business meeting / social, we knew each other, it was fun talk too. My colleague says, "Hey chief, do you know what Diane's stripper name is? The meme, your pet's name and your street you lived on." And the chief said, "No, what is it?" And my colleague said, "I'm not going to tell you." My colleague said, "My maiden name with my childhood nickname," which quite frankly is way better as my stripper name than Bingo St. Patrick. Not a good one. The chief's face changed, little bit of a leer, and every time I saw him until he retired shortly after, there was something new between us. It changed our professional relationship forever. He always looked at me with that thought in his mind. I've got another colleague who every time I see him, we're friends. Every time I see him, he says something to me about, "Hey, Diane, are you ready to leave that husband of yours and run away with me yet?" No, I'm good where I am. I can handle that. There are people who can't handle that. People who have been abused or harassed may have to limit their access to that person. Some people who are still damaged may have to remove themselves completely from that relationship. So back to the rainbow and the unicorn. Rainbow that I saw today, by the way. For those of you who still are going, I just don't recognize this. You weren't in the session yesterday where the person had their cell phone open and the sexting message with the naked lady was on his cell phone, visible in a public place in a professional setting. It's here. It's all around us. So the rainbow, the unicorn, that's fiction, right? We all know unicorns don't actually exist, but the rainbow exists. The problem is that we don't see the rainbow all the time, so we forget about the rainbow. It's not my rainbow. It doesn't matter to me. But the rainbow's always there. It's just that unless we have the conditions for it, unless we're open to observing it, we don't notice that it's there. We don't see it. I'll tell you right now, they're here in this room, silently enduring, silently persevering, not saying anything for fear. They're your peers, they're your colleagues, they're me too.